Imagine you're an Ice Age woman. You're 8 months pregnant, and you have to move today. Not because you want to, because the group is moving, and if they move without you, you die. The reindeer herd that kept everyone fed for 3 months has drifted 40 miles east, following the grass line under the ice. The stored fat and dried meat your group has been rationing is almost gone. Your band of 23 people, the only 23 people you have ever known, is breaking camp at dawn, and there's no version of this where you stay behind. So you pack. You pick up your share of the group's load, and you walk. You are somewhere in what will one day become southern France. The year is roughly 23,000 BC. The glaciers are close enough that on clear mornings you can see the ice sheet on the horizon, white and flat and enormous, pressing south. The average temperature in this region is around 4 degrees Celsius in summer. In winter, some nights drop to -20. You have animal hides sewn into a wrap around your body. Your feet are bound in leather. Your group carries fire, a coal and a clay-lined pouch that gets rebuilt every night. But fire only matters once you stop moving. You walk 6 miles before you make camp, at 8 months pregnant. You don't think of it as remarkable. There's no other option to compare it to. Here's the thing about that walk. Modern medicine talks a lot about what pregnancy does to the body, the weight shift, the swollen joints, the way your center of gravity reorganizes itself. What it almost never tells you is that the reason human birth is so hard in the first place is a design problem, an evolutionary one, and it goes back about 4 million years to the moment our ancestors stood upright. When you walk on 2 legs, your pelvis has to do 2 things at once. It has to stay narrow enough at the bottom to keep your stride efficient, and it has to stay wide enough in the middle to let a baby through. Those 2 demands pull against each other permanently. A narrower pelvis makes you a faster walker, a wider one makes birth safer. Evolution never fully solved this. It split the difference. The result is that human birth is the most mechanically difficult of any primate species on Earth. A baby's head has to rotate twice inside the birth canal to get through, a corkscrew movement that doesn't happen in any other ape. A gorilla can reach down and guide her infant out herself. A human mother cannot. The baby emerges facing backward, which means a mother pulling on it risks breaking its neck. Researchers at the University of Delaware and New Mexico State University, studying the evolutionary history of childbirth, concluded that human birth has required outside assistance, what they call obligate midwifery, from the moment brain sizes crossed a critical threshold. Likely by 300,000 years ago, someone had to be there. It was biological. That's the baseline. That's what childbirth is, before you add a single Ice Age condition on top of it. Now add food. You need roughly 300 extra calories a day in the 3rd trimester. In 23,000 BC, a bad hunting week means everyone eats less. A bad month means people start losing weight. You are not eating anything fortified. You're eating mammoth fat when the group gets lucky, roots and dried berries the rest of the time, and fish if you're near a river. Some weeks you eat well. Some weeks the entire group is close to starving. When calories run short, your body solves the problem by eating itself. It pulls calcium from your bones first. Then it thins your teeth. It gives the fetus what it needs and takes the deficit from wherever it can find it. 3 days after the migration, the hunting party comes back empty. They tracked a small bison herd for 2 days and lost it at a frozen river crossing. Everyone in the group eats half portions that night. You eat half portions. The baby, still growing, does not. Now add cold. In the 3rd trimester, your body is already running at a higher load than it ever has. Blood volume up 40%, heart rate elevated to feed the placenta, lungs partially compressed by the growing uterus, so every breath is shallower than normal. You are already burning more energy just to exist. The cold adds a second demand on top of that. Your body now has to generate heat and sustain a pregnancy simultaneously, off a food supply that just proved it can disappear. These aren't 2 separate problems. They compound each other. Less food means less heat. Less heat means the body pulls harder on its reserves, and the reserves are already spoken for. You do this for months, and then the baby has to come out. There is no hospital, no surgical option, no epidural, no way to measure fetal distress. If the baby is positioned wrong, there is almost nothing anyone can do. Obstructed labor, where the baby simply cannot pass through the birth canal, kills both mother and infant without intervention. In 23,000 BC, intervention means hands, experience, and knowledge passed from woman to woman across generations. That knowledge was real. It was accumulated over thousands of births, thousands of deaths, everything that worked remembered, and everything that failed buried. Labor lasts hours. It happens in a shelter of mammoth bone and hide or inside a cave, with a fire burning at the entrance to keep animals back. The group doesn't leave. The women who have done this before stay close. Someone manages the fire. Someone watches the dark outside. The birth is not a private event. It is a collective emergency, and everyone in the band knows their role in it. If you survive, and many women did, you are not done. You have a newborn that cannot regulate its own body temperature for the first several weeks of its life. You have to carry it against your skin continuously in the cold to keep it alive. You have to nurse it constantly. And you have to do all of this while your body tries to recover from the most physically demanding event it has ever gone through. In the same cold, on the same unreliable food supply, with the group already preparing to move again when the next herd moves. So why are we here? Because of what those 23 people did around her. When researchers at the Australian National University developed the first method for estimating maternal mortality in prehistoric populations, analyzing 246 skeletal remains from Stone Age forager sites, they found exactly what you'd expect. Young women died at higher rates than young men. The risk of childbirth is written in the bones. But they also found that communities were organized around absorbing that risk. Birth was something the group structured itself around, not something a woman handled alone. We know from Paleolithic campsite patterns that groups wintered in sheltered locations. Cave systems, river bends, terrain that reduced exposure and limited the need to move. The timing of those winter camps lines up with the constraints of pregnancy and early infancy. The group didn't stop moving because of her. But there is evidence, in where they stopped and how long they stayed, that they were thinking about her. And then there are the figurines. Between 38,000 and 14,000 years ago, Ice Age people across Europe and into Siberia carved small handheld statuettes. More than 200 have been found. Researchers call them Venus figurines, though the name comes from us, not from them. What they consistently depict: women, full-bellied, wide-hipped, carved with care in the torso, while the face is left blank, the hands small, the feet absent or missing entirely. Researchers at the University of Colorado published a study in 2020 analyzing the figurines across sites. They found a pattern. The figurines closest to the glacial fronts, the coldest, most resource-scarce locations, showed the most exaggerated body weight and pregnancy. The ones from warmer, richer sites were less extreme. The interpretation is direct. In the places where starvation was closest and survival was hardest, the image these people carved and carried was a pregnant woman, alive, fed, full. She was what they were hoping for. Think about what it takes to carve something. You sit down with a piece of ivory or limestone. You spend hours shaping a figure small enough to fit in your palm. You carry across hundreds of miles. You only do that for something that matters, for something you're afraid of losing, for something you're trying to keep alive by holding it in your hand. A pregnant woman in the Ice Age was the group's future made physical. She was also the most vulnerable person in a world where the margins were very small. Every birth was a gamble. Every child who survived it was a specific outcome against real odds. And enough of those gambles came through that we are here. The women who did this, who walked 6 miles at 8 months, who labored by firelight while someone watched the dark outside, who nursed infants against their skin through -20 winters, were not doing something romantic. There was nothing romantic about it. It was physical work, carried by bodies that were barely equal to the task, in conditions built to make the task harder. But they did it, and someone carved their image in stone and kept it close enough to sleep with.